All right. Wednesday, November 27th. On the heels. We're actually not on the heels. We're like in the middle of feast week. I actually think this is one of the best sports weeks that we get to enjoy as a country. I am certainly thankful for it. One more thing before we get started. We're previewing the UVA game, Commonwealth Cup, rivalry week. I want us all to take a second. I want you to do this like yoga pose, look up. It's been a tough week. It's been a tough year. It's been a nasty time on the timeline. We're turning the page to beating UVA. It is the only thing that is important right now is to win this UVA game. Patrick, how are you doing, my friend?
Back in New Jersey for Thanksgiving. Got off the plane, saw the Rutgers R logo at Newark at the new terminal. It is funny, the Charlotte always spits me up out in front of that block R. Did watch Dylan Harper drop 36 points last night on Notre Dame at the Players Era in Las Vegas. Family's here. We're hanging out. We got dinner tonight in Madison. Should be fun. And then, looking forward to some Thanksgiving activities. Looking forward to some football. I think if it's a rivalry game, I actually want to know what the data is on betting the underdog against the spread in every single game. Would love to know if it comes up in the green. Might have to do it. We'll see. I saw Big Cat has already bet on like 50 plus games.
So an interesting strategy one of my coworkers had is he would bet the under of every game in the NCAA tournament. And he said every year he comes over 65% because everybody's adjusting to everybody. But we're not here to talk about hoops. We are the Sons of Saturday. We are both headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina, but in our respective areas. I am in DC Nova area. Pat, as he just said, in New Jersey. To hell with the negativity. The woe is me. We will recap this season in its entirety when the year is over, but we're going to take a siesta from all of that. We got two teams vying for bowl eligibility. There might be a snow effect. It's going to be freezing cold. If you're going, pack your blue jeans, pack your parka, pack your sweatshirt, pack your earmuffs, pack whatever. 29 degrees, fourth coldest game on record at Lane Stadium. Thank you, Doug Bowman, for keeping us warm on the weather forecast. I stole that from Pat, but Pat, I love how you wrote that. I'm sorry. I did stumble upon that. Let's do some hokey haikus before we dive into the game. We got 3. First one from my guy, Pete McGee. Can't root for a loss. Beating UVA is fun. I like having fun. Walking us through his stream of consciousness. I like that a lot. Paul Patera, P2, as Pat takes a sip from his Commonwealth Cup. The Commonwealth Cup, 22 of 24. Whatever it takes. And then lastly, rounding it out with Jamie, Pop in at QB, big APR legacy, tech by a million. Wouldn't that be something?
Cheers.
Patrick, UVA. We've had a couple of fun folks join us. Chris Long. Then you had a couple spaces. Jake Malasek. He's been on the show. We're good friends with Trey Kelleher. One of the most interesting pods of Sons of Saturday lore. We did have Who is Ike on for a preview a couple of years ago. That was quite interesting. But I figured we'd kick it off with UVA. And, we can start with something nice, but then we can get to some of the things that aren't as nice. I can go first. Jack Browns, need one in Blacksburg. Absolutely fantastic. Charlottesville, great town. JPJ, basically most things associated with the UVA basketball program. Love Tony Bennett. He is now gone, so I love him even more. But that's about all the positive things that I can say about Charlottesville.
I think when you think about Charlottesville, there is a lot of history. It's a unique place. Thomas Jefferson did found the school way back when. I went to a wedding at Farmington in September. It is objectively a cool place with a lot of history, and the campus is nice. If we are saying nice things, I like Raleigh, North Carolina because it has history. Charlotte doesn't really have history. Kind of similar to how I like the historic vibes of Charlottesville. Um, that's about it right now. It is hate week. Everything else is more something about, or more, is more focused towards what we do not like. What do you not like, Billy Ray? I know you did not grow up in this
No,
rivalry like a lot of Hokie fans did,
that's
but
true.
I want to know what you dislike.
I think UVA objectively is one of the worst fan base at chirping. I don't think they know how it works. I don't think that they understand how it goes. A lot of changing subjects, a lot of saying you don't care, a lot of interesting data yoga stretching. When we start to talk about, we'll be talking about football and then somehow it turns into field hockey, or we'll be talking about basketball and then we'll start talking about, lacrosse. It's very interesting. Very fleet of foot are the Cavaliers when it comes to trash talk.
I mean, I think that's just the tip of the spear.
It
That's
certainly
it.
is.
That's all you got. They're not very
I
good.
wanted to let you cook. I mean, the one other thing that I think I'll point out is the fans don't care enough. I mean, I wish more people would show up and participate in the rivalry, because what makes rivalries great is the rivalrous feeling that you get. And we've played a home game against UVA for as long as I've been participating in this rivalry. So those are the two things. I just want to give you the opportunity to cook. I think one of the things we saw this on the boards today is, although I was not participating in the rivalry when I was 7, I still understand what a rivalry consists of. But Patrick, you've been here forever. You've been to a bunch of them. So I kind of consider this an opportunity for you to just take this and slam it home.
I mean, it's a lot more than just them not caring enough, which also makes it easy to dislike Virginia and their fan base. But it's croquet and sipping tea and riding horses and going to wineries instead of watching sports and watching football. It's having an attitude and an air about academia and how Mr. Jefferson founded our school. And because of that, little Hokie, we are better and smarter and wealthier and X, Y, and Z. It's better than you. And I think most Hokie fans acknowledge that and don't like that, and know that I think when you're talking about wholesome, being down to earth, I'm not speaking for the entire Virginia community, right? I got some family members who are Who's. I got some friends who are Who's, but this is a rivalry. And I do think that Hokies are just, we're more of a good time. We're kind of more just vibing, like Virginia Tech fans, blue jeans, sweatshirts, down to earth, great people. Not saying that there's some UVA fans who are not incredible people, but as far as this rivalry goes, Colin Cowherd said it best. Virginia football is soft. Virginia fans wear suits to football games. I saw the Barstool Virginia account was trying to get their students to show up in ties and girls to wear like pearls and dresses to the
Oh,
game,
it's tough.
SMU game. And Hokie fans, we don't hate them enough. Like, or anyone outside of Hokie Nation doesn't hate Virginia enough. Just to think that that's any sort of behavior that is close to normal is crazy. Again, Charlottesville's a great place. It's a beautiful campus. They have some cool things about their town. The history is awesome, but the people don't stack up in the slightest against the folks who wear VT, maroon and orange, blue jeans, and sweatshirts.
Also, you look at some of the rivalries around the country, and I'll just point to Auburn and Alabama, which is one of the best rivalries, or Army Navy. It truly is one of those rivalries where there is such a cultural difference between these two schools. Just peer to peer. The Hokie walks into the Who bar, the Who walks into the Hokie bar. You can feel the temperature change a little bit, because it's very, if you lined up a group of people and you said, point to me, the Who, or point to me the Hokie, be pretty easy to do so.
Hokie fans, more accustomed to having beards. UVA fans will have, scarves and boat shoes. It's just a different lifestyle.
So let's dive into this Hokie Who lore here. And I want to commend Wes Durham for his tweet. He posted a tweet of a black and white of the first two teams that played against each other in 1895 of the Commonwealth Clash, which the ACC network will be hosting and having their show and in town. I hope that they packed appropriately. But I did love that picture. For those of you, it is on our timeline. Check it out. But let's talk a little bit about the history of the Commonwealth Cup.
So I think the biggest storyline here when it pertains to Hokie history is that we've been saying it all year. We've been excited for this game. We haven't hosted Virginia in Lane Stadium since 2018. So big deal there. We've won 3 in a row. We've won 18 of 19, and Virginia Tech has won 22 of 2024. Obviously, there was a pandemic in 2020 where we took the cup back after the loss in 2019. And then there was the tragedy 2 years ago in Charlottesville prior to the end of the season. So that game was removed from the schedule. 2023. 55-17. Everything about this game was fun. I even watched the College Football Monday recap last week when Pete V and I got on and just talked about how much fun we had in Charlottesville. Every other play seemed like a touchdown for Virginia Tech. You had Quan Felton getting in the end zone a few times. You had Bashal Tutin saluting and creating his own lore on that hill. He owns the hill in Charlottesville after that kick return. Absolutely crazy. Kyron Drones had an incredible game. Stephen Gosnell, touchdown. APR and the defense showed out. I think Delane had a pick.
LED light show when UVA finally decided to score. It was last year. I promise I'm not going to do this on this podcast with the frustration of this year, but last year had so many fun games, and that one was near the top. It was just such a great afternoon.
55-17. 55 is the high water mark of this era so far, I think, without a doubt. I'm not really going to consider that win over Tulane as a real contest. Just considering how many folks on Tulane, it was like playing their JV team. But I will say it was the peak of this coaching staff's era thus far. And everyone felt incredible going into 2024 because of how we stamped our mark and marked our territory in Charlottesville, rushing the field, J.C. Price lighting up yet another cigar at Lane Stadium North. They try to get us back with the sprinklers. I don't know if you remember the sprinklers after the game, team photo. Everyone's fired up. Supposedly, it was accidental. It was on a timer and not intentional. We'll never know about that, but definitely a peak moment of the era so far. 2021 was a huge game for Tavion Robinson, Braxton Burmeister, and Raheem Blackshear. Remember, that was where we first saw the Hokie special. I know Khalil Herbert. Herbert was the year before. Sorry, this was back in Charlottesville. This is the J.C. Price. This is my school. This is my home game. And this is where Brennan Armstrong passed it 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage to his left tackle. And it was one of the funniest things that I've ever seen on a football field. And we did rush the field that year as well. 2020, we crushed the Who's in Blacksburg in front of virtually no one in person due to it being COVID. This was a big night from Khalil Herbert, and we did retain the Commonwealth Cup. Claimed it back after losing in 2019. Billy Ray, do you want to tell us about 2019?
I mean, yeah, dude, look, I mean, a lot of people have a lot of different feelings about this game. I obviously want to win every single time. It seemed like UVA is obviously the best season they've had in a long time. They had a team littered with NFL guys. We had a team with some NFL guys on there as well, winning in for the ACC championship. I wish that we had more games with that type of stakes on the line in this type of rivalry. I think people get a little confused. I'm not actively rooting to lose games against UVA. I am simply asking for the games to mean a little bit more. And 2019 definitely provided that. And Bryce Perkins was that afternoon the best player on the football field. Absolutely fantastic game by him. Very rare miss from our guy. Why am I forgetting his name? Brian Johnson, who was absolutely electric that entire year. But man, what a football game that was. What an afternoon that was. They stormed the field and finally got to, when they post pictures of this rivalry, they didn't have to use sepia tone, or anything like that, or black and white. So it did give them something to promote this game with. So hats off to them on that.
It's probably the loudest I've ever been in Scott Stadium, where their fans actually were caring. They did have a lot to play for. They had a lot on the line. They went to the Orange Bowl that year after losing to Clemson in the ACC title game. Actually, it was a pretty competitive game with Florida, but they did lose the Orange Bowl to Florida. 2018, one of my probably the best and most notable John Laser call. The cup is going nowhere, Mikey, in overtime. This was the Trey Turner one-handed touchdown catch and the block punt touchdown.
This game was hammered, like just objectively a hammered football game. A game that if you played 10 times and started the fourth quarter, I'm not sure that we win that game more than 5 times or even 5 times. It was honestly the peak of. It's so funny that the way that fate has it, we lose in 2019 because in 2018, if you're a UVA fan, you're like, God is absolutely not on our side, because what had to happen for the Hokies to pull that one out was incredible.
You had Ryan Willis throw an interception right before half, sprints down and tackles him like at the 10. You had Emmanuel Belmar was the hero recovering the football for the win. You had the scared money, don't make money, just 500 dead or alive pass to Dalton Keene, which was just outstanding and crazy. Everything about that game was ridiculous. And I know that was the last time we had a game at Lane Stadium versus Virginia with fans. It's also the last good memory that I have, and a lot of you may have had that night inside of the quarters of Big Al's. The Commonwealth Cup was being tossed around all over Big Al's and all over downtown Blacksburg that night as well. 2017, it's a pretty horrible football game. Hokies won 10-0. We always like a shutout. There's been a handful of shutouts in this rivalry. That was one of them, but not much to write home about 2017. 2016 really just put their head under a tire and just kept running over it. It was an absolute, just destroyed them. 60 minutes of crushing, 52-10. Sam Rogers was terrific. Andrew Matuapuaka had a defensive touchdown. Chuck Clark had a pick. Hokies won the Coastal after that afternoon. Billy Ray was there. 2015, in Charlottesville, Frank Beamer's last game as a head coach in this rivalry, had the clutch interception by Adonis Alexander at the end of the game. Had I think it was a long catch and run by Ryan Malik from Michael Brewer. And then I just remember a Michael Brewer to Isaiah in the corner of the end zone, right in front of the lawn. Some of the best
picks. Great picks from that touchdown. There's some awesome photos from that.
Some of the better helmets and uniforms that we ever wore in that era of the closure of the Beamer era. 2014 was up there in the freezing cold games in Hokie Who Lore, Lane Stadium, Friday night game on Black Friday. Had 2 touchdowns from Bucky Hodges, one of them off a CJ Revis blocked punt, and then the other was a game-winning touchdown in the fourth quarter, delivered from Michael Brewer. And then I always remember the Kenny Canham and Daddy Nicholas sandwich knocking Grayson Lambert out of the game late in the game. Freezing cold night.
You said scared money doesn't make any. There was another play to Bucky Hodges in that game that was very similar to that situation on the same sideline, which was incredible. I'll tell you what, Michael Brewer was great in UVA games. He really was. That was a fun night. You had everybody meeting at midfield before the game. It was a big old chirp fest. That was a good one. 2014 was a good one. And also another one of those games where you're like, if anybody has any understanding on the UVA side, how the turntables have turntabled. If UVA had any idea how to use the clock at the end of that game, UVA is probably looking at a W in 2014. But Mike London, not going to get a Rolex or Timex NIL deal anytime soon for Mike London.
He had the issues in 2012 as well in Lane. Definitely had his fair share of mishaps in Lane Stadium. 2013, 16-6 victory in Charlottesville. This was my first time up in Whoville for a football game. Trey Edmonds and our defense carried the way that day. I think Trey Edmonds, he might have gotten hurt at the end of this game. 2012, Antoine Exum seals the game with an interception, followed by the game-winning kick from Cody Journell. This was the worst helmets I think we've ever worn. Foghorn, Leghorn helmets.
I've come around to it. They're bad. I used to try to make the case that I liked them. They were really bad.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. 2011, Logan Thomas, Marcus Davis, David Wilson, Danny Cole. I mean, everyone contributed in this dominating effort, 38-0, bro, and also led to a Coastal Championship as well. For the Hoaks, 2010, 37-7 in Lane Stadium. Ran it real well. Ryan Williams, David Wilson. I think those 2010 seniors, Davon Morgan, Tyrod, just really knew how to dominate Virginia every year. Every year they went out there and it was epic.
It's kind of funny because it seems like we're reading like the highlights of this rivalry for Virginia Tech, but we're actually going in chronological order.
We've done every single year. And then 2009, arguably some of the best uniforms we've ever worn on the road in Charlottesville. Ryan Williams just exploded this night. Pro Combat uniforms. Great game by Tech. Complimentary football. Scored over.
It was Chris Longday, wasn't it? They retired his number when he was still playing. Wasn't that the day they did it?
No. That was 2007. 2008 was a big time Wild Turkey Day from Greg Boone in Lane Stadium. The lunch pail defense delivered. We were in the backfield all day. Mark Verica was the quarterback for Virginia that day. Clinched the Coastal this year with the win. I always remember Dorian Porch's interception in the north end zone, and also Bud Foster sprinting down the sideline with his clipboard strapped to his leg, just freaking out in excitement after the last sack to pretty much clinch the game. 2007, this is the Chris Long Day Coastal Championship. They retired his jersey while he was still on the team. Definitely a top 5 UVA football player of all time. And this was a Sean Glennon and Tyrod Taylor masterclass. Hokies win, take the Cup, take the Coastal, take the ACC the following week over Boston College. We'll do 2 more. 2006, shutout ball again. This is the 3rd shutout we're talking about in the last 20 years. 17-0. Eddie Royal catches a nice pass and takes off down the sideline into the end zone. It's all we needed. All maroon everything. Senior day, Hokie win in 2006. And then let's jump back November 18th, 1995, the number 20 Virginia Tech Hokies defeat the number 13 Virginia Cavaliers 36-29. This was, the most notorious field rush of all time, us rushing their field. We've done it quite a few times. I even remember rushing the field in 2015 in Charlottesville. We all huddled up in the end zone. But Jermaine Holmes and Druckenmiller hits Jermaine Holmes down the sideline. Antonio Banks with the pick six to seal it. And it was awesome. I know that was like a Sugar Bowl play-in game. And I think it was Druckenmiller says this quote. I just remember the Sugar Bowl reps were all on their sideline for most of the game. And then all of a sudden, they're on our sideline. 36-29, come from behind victory in Charlottesville after being down 29-14 in the fourth quarter. Druckenmiller hits Holmes for 10 yards to make it 29-20. And then you guys know the story from there. Big day from JC, big day from Cornell Brown, big day from Druck. Hokies seal it with Antonio Banks, 65 yards to the house. What's the common theme here, Billy Ray? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now 7 where we are competing for this.
Got to get away from this stat, but 2012, 2014, 2015, 2018, 2021, 2020, and 2024 are games with bowl eligibility, hinging on the result. But that is some fun Hokie history. That is about as fun as it gets and as cool as it gets coming against your rival. We're going to switch over to storylines here. Pat, do you want to talk a little bit about the Lunch Pail Defense Foundation?
Yeah, I want to give a big time shout out to our friends at the Bud Foster Lunch Pail Defense Foundation. It's Nick Cullen, Christina Daves, Todd Headley, Jeff Mitchell, a ton of folks who are making things happen there. Just want to read a quick blurb that Nick sent me because they are being honored after the first quarter. There's 3 organizations who are making differences to those in need across the New River Valley and across Virginia. And the Lunch Pail Defense Foundation is making their first distributions at halftime at the UVA game. Each check will be in the amount of $50,000. And the organizations that are being supported are Life Ring Foundation, which aids families of children in Southwest Virginia fighting pediatric cancer, and the ACE program, which opens doors to education for scholarships for community college and trade school students, which is very much underfunded and a huge need. And also the VT Advantage, which provides financial aid and assistance to find great jobs to Virginia Tech students. All these programs are specifically aligned with the idea of giving young people opportunities in the region, just like Bud did when he was coach at Virginia Tech for so many years. And they call it Coach Bud's passion. So again, really excited and proud of the organization Lunch Pail Defense Foundation. Proud of Nick and the gang over there, all the folks on the board who do tremendous work and have really helped the efforts of this foundation roll here. So congratulations to you guys, and make sure to give them a huge round of applause at the game when they are honored.
Storylines, we know what this means. We know where we are. We know where they are. They're coming to our house. It's going to be a great environment. Super fired up for it. 8:00. Awesome opportunity for Virginia Tech. Pat, you want to talk about the one storyline that I think just deserves a little bit more juice here?
Bashal Tutin, like this is the last time that Bashal Tutin will be playing in Lane Stadium. And he has been so much fun and such an important part of this football team over the past 2 years. He comes into Blacksburg from North Carolina A&T. Hey, we got this Tutin guy. He looks pretty good, but, kind of making the next level jump here, playing in Power 5 ball. How is it going to shape out for him? And, last year he was carrying the torch in Charlottesville and creating his own legacy, playing in Scott Stadium and scoring, a ton of points. This year, he just hit 1,000 yards on the year. We really wouldn't be anywhere without Bashal Tutin. He had a streak of 100-yard games earlier this season. He's been hampered by injury and says, I don't care. I want to play football. I am a football player. And I saw Andy Bitter tweet. It was about his ankle and motivation to keep pushing to play the rest of the year. And Bashal Tutin says, I can heal up after the season. So in short, this guy is the best. This guy is a freaking Virginia Tech Hokie. And so excited to see him suit up in the orange and maroon at least one more time this year, because I know it has not been easy for him.
One last thing that's flying under the radar. He is tied for 9th with Ken Oxendine for career touchdowns at Virginia Tech in just 2 years. He's a special football player, and I can't wait to see what tricks he has up his sleeve in this final chapter in Lane Stadium. Some other presser notes that we do have. Andy Bitter did the heavy lifting on this, so I appreciate it. No Kyron Drones, Colin Schlee, or Malachi Thomas in the periods of practice today. Daquan Felton was not in blue, but he was not going through individual drills either, although he was still padded up for practice. Coach Pry in the presser, he said that Kyron Drones and Colin Schlee are questionable with injuries. He doesn't have an answer for their status, but says the VT has 4 quarterbacks trying to get ready to play, including Pop Watson and Davy Belfort. He also alluded to say that Schlee is further along than Drones is. So take that as you will. We will see who goes out there and hopefully gets it done against UVA, because that's what we've been doing for years and years and years and years and years. So one last presser note, Tony Elliott, I did come across his presser. He said, we are chasing bowl eligibility, but I am focused on our supporters having the upper hand for the next 365 days. I like Tony Elliott. He's had a lot of challenges. That is like the softest way that you could formulate that sentence. And we've seen it before with the beat tech clock that they had. They had the rock that they would smash. There have been a lot of strategies to get folks ready to go. But
wait, so he's saying he's trying to make this about the fans, and he wants to say, hey, I want to win this one for our fans so that we just own the cup for the next year.
I think so.
The fans that don't show up to any of the other games at all in Scott Stadium, you got Maryland, like an old ACC foe, wasn't a full house. You had Boston College on homecoming, and it was 40% full after starting 3-1. Okay, I guess that's we already talked about how your fans suck. So what are you really trying to reward them for? I don't know. If you're a Virginia fan, comment below. First of all, we just want to acknowledge that you guys exist. So comment below and just say, hi, I'm a Virginia fan listening to this podcast, because we
won't crush you.
You guys actually
won't crush you. We're happy you're here. We're happy you're getting excited.
This is just an acknowledgement of UVA fanhood beyond Trey Kelleher and the other, OG who football, Ike, and the other folks on Twitter. You guys are good fans. Like, those guys are good football fans. They're good UVA fans. Jake Malasek, as much junk we've talked with him over the year, he came on the podcast. He's a good UVA fan. I wish the average Virginia fan was like Jake Malasek or was like Trey, because they actually care and they actually show up and they are actually emotionally invested in this, unlike the other 98% of the fan base. So I know that was quite a tangent, but if you're a Virginia fan, you are listening, you are watching, please let us know that you are out there.
So vibe checks for both teams. UVA has lost their last 2 games. Virginia Tech has lost their last 3. If you want to run through UVA's schedule, they have wins over Richmond, Wake Forest, Coastal Carolina, Boston College, and Pitt. And they have losses to Maryland, Louisville, Clemson, North Carolina, Notre Dame, and SMU. They've had a really tough back half of the schedule. S&P Plus, who just loves Virginia Tech, gives Virginia Tech an 84% chance of winning the game. Projected score of 34-19. Crazy stat, just a wild stat. Virginia and Virginia Tech quarterbacks were sacked 17 times last week. 8 sacks for Virginia Tech, getting sacked, and then 9 sacks getting sacked for UVA. Man, just a tough weekend to be a quarterback for one of the two Power 5 programs in the state of Virginia.
I didn't realize SMU had Reggie White on the left side and Bruce Smith on the right side. Like that's unbelievable. 9 sacks.
Well, I didn't know that Duke had Julius Peppers and somebody else on the other side. I mean, they were pretty awesome too. But some more on the SMU UVA game. UVA did lose 33-7. The pearls and ties and bow ties did not do it for them. They had 173 total yards. Their last 6 games: Louisville, Clemson, North Carolina, at Pitt, at Notre Dame, and SMU. That is a tough draw. Any other notes on big stats before we drill into the offense?
Virginia's over under win total for the year was 3.5.
4.5.
4.5. They have hit that. They have, technically speaking, overachieved for their preseason win totals to this point. I would say they have. I mean, they don't really have. I guess they did beat Pittsburgh. How good is Pittsburgh? We know Pittsburgh started off undefeated, but didn't really play anyone.
Mm-hmm.
They did have a win over West Virginia early.
Beat Pittsburgh, played Louisville well, played Clemson well for a little bit. I don't think this is a very good football team, to be completely transparent with you. They certainly have their struggles. We'll start with the offense here. So they're averaging 23.2 points per game, which is 3rd worst in the conference. And the bottom of that list is really, really bad. 394 yards per game, 233 passing, 135 rushing. Anthony Calandria. I'm trying to think of a comp.
He's a gunslinger, but he only has like one gun.
He is kind of like Good Will Hunting, where limitless potential, extremely smart, and just does these boneheaded things all the time. Now, granted, they haven't done a lot of things to help him out with protection or the route tree. This may sound familiar to maybe our situation, but he's a sophomore. I think he still has a bright future, but it just hasn't happened for him this year. He has 2,125 passing yards on 13 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, a 42.4 QBR, and completing 61% of his passes. In his last 4 games, he has 7 interceptions to 2 passing touchdowns. So if you are a boom guy, you are saying he is due. If you are a bust guy, you said, man, this guy sucks. So I don't know what Anthony Calandria we're going to get on Saturday night, but it has been ugly for the last 4 weeks.
The craziest stat that I've seen about this Virginia offense is the fact that Calandria has taken 39 sacks. And Virginia quarterbacks, including Tony Muskett, have been sacked 42 times on the year.
Oh, my God.
That is out of control. Could you imagine if Virginia Tech allowed that many sacks? How much our fan base would just absolutely freak out.
No, it's bad. It's bad. It's a bad situation. Tony Muskett is on the first team All-American name team. That's an awesome name for a quarterback. Has not really given them any reason for them to trot him out other than, Calandria is doing some crazy stuff. Let's just put Tony in and see what he can do. They're still kind of grasping for answers there. The one guy who I would hang my hat on for UVA is Malachi Fields. He's the 5th leading receiver in the ACC. He has 788 yards on 53 catches and 5 touchdowns. Really talented, good player. Definitely the highlight of their offense.
He's also completed 2 of 3 passes for 51 yards. So might see Malachi Fields throw a pass on Saturday. However, Billy Ray, they are saying he is no Malik Washington, who we did happen to shut down last year. Malik Washington had 14 catches against Tech last year. However, I did peddle the narrative that we shut him down. I don't think he scored a touchdown, so I think we shut him down. Their second leading receiver is a tight end. His name is Tyler Neville. He has 35 receptions for 387 yards and 2 touchdowns on the year. Who is the comp? almost an identical stat line to our very own Benji Gosnell, who has 30 catches for 321 yards and 2 touchdown grabs on the year. At running back, Kobe Pace has 499 yards on the season on 114 carries. That's good for 4.4 yards per carry. Has reached the end zone 3 times. Very similarly, as a contributor is Xavier Brown, 80 carries, 488 yards, 6.1 yards per carry. I know this Virginia team has also been very much banged up this year, but I do believe what these guys are playing on Saturday. Chris Tyree, if you remember when he hit the portal, or even remember when he committed to Notre Dame, former 5-star guy, talented guy, transferred to UVA last year, but not much of an impact guy this year. Only 23 catches for 127 yards. The Virginia offense is converting 33% of their third down tries, and their turnover ratio, as Billy Ray alluded to earlier, a lot of picks from Calandria, -2 on the year. So more likely to pass the ball than run the football, but definitely would not call this offense any better than last year's offense from Virginia.
If you are a friend with a defensive lineman at Virginia Tech, or you're listening, which you're not, but no sacks last week. Virginia is handing out sacks like they're candy on Halloween. Let's get after the quarterback. Let's have a party in the backfield. Why not? What better time than right now to have a party in the backfield against UVA in Lane Stadium? Would love to see it. Would love to see it. Talking about their defense, they're giving up 28 points per game, 410 yards per game, 236 yards for the air, 140 yards rushing. They do not get after the quarterback. They only have 17 sacks on the year, which is the second worst in the league. It may sound like we're playing like poo-poo here on UVA. I know I talked positively about Malachi Fields. Like, this is just not a very exciting football team. Tried really hard to find some serious positives. And I mean, I was saving it for we got to win this game. I mean, I know that we've had our struggles this year, and I know that it's been disappointing. Like, Virginia Tech has no business losing to this team with the amount of talent that we have. So I do just want to say that.
Their leading sacker is a linebacker, Cam Robinson, clogs the middle. They have picked off 9 passes this year. We did a third of that last week. I mean, can this be an opportunity to we're talking about our defense, or their defense, so never mind. But Jonas Sanker leads the team with tackles from the safety spot.
Never a good stat, Pat. Never a good
89
stat.
tackles on the year. It means they're not very good at clogging the middle. Bashal Tootin, I don't know how healthy you are, but I do know that I want to see you run for over 100 yards and get into the end zone.
Root, scoot, and toot. Big opportunity. Special teams, their kicking unit. Will Bettridge has not made a field goal since November 9th. Pretty crazy. That's a real stat. But he is not. He is perfect from inside 30 yards. He's 6 of 7 from 30 to 39, and he is 2 of 4 from 40 to 49. Have never attempted a field goal past 49 yards. So it's also going to be windy. It's also going to be cold. I can't anticipate. I love our kicking situation, but I don't anticipate we're going to be seeing a lot of long field goals. I'm anticipating a run-heavy, nasty blue. I think this is going to be a disgusting football game. I think it's a disgusting football game that we should win by multiple scores. I don't think we will, but I think we should. So that's kind of where I am on their special teams.
Punting, not strong from a number standpoint. Their net average punt yards is 34.9 yards per punt. It's going to be so cold that special teams could be a big difference in the football game. Keep that in mind. Hopefully when we are in the red zone, we're punching it in and not needing to resort to a field goal. The last thing I would want to do, whether it's Peter Moore or John Love or Kyle Lowe or any of the UVA specialists, is have to punt or kick a football that is 26 degrees. That just sounds like a miserable time.
Yeah.
But hopefully they have the hand warmers and the foot warmers rocking and rolling. I bet that, I mean, I don't know. I haven't, when I played soccer growing up, obviously we're in a different era, right? But I have ski boots that have, like heat insoles. Maybe they got some cool gadget punting and kicking cleats these days that are built for cold games, but probably not. Well, keys to the game.
Nice tidbit. Keys to the game. Look, it comes down to this for me. I generally think whoever wants to be there more is going to want to win. It's cold. Both teams are not very good. Both teams have had some crushing losses. Both teams have lost a bunch of games coming into this game. And for games like this, you got to be excited. You got to get yourself up. You got to be, excited for the opportunity, not dreading being out there. And I'm not saying anybody is. I'm just saying whoever comes out in this game more excited is going to have the edge. The Hokies definitely have the talent edge. Not quite sure who has the schematical edge. That is TBD at this point. But the Hokies should win this game. This will be both teams' first time really playing in the cold. I got to say, Pat, like this year in November, it has significantly dropped down recently. But this is going to be a historically cold game. But also both teams have pretty much played in the warm like all year. There hasn't really been a really cold game. The Duke game was kind of cold. But this is going to be freezing. So that'll be interesting. And which staff will put their team in a better position to play well and execute is really what it comes down to. This is so important. Like this, I am so fearful of what the Virginia Tech world will look like if they lose this game. Like you've seen the Twitter timeline this week. And I can't even imagine the Facebook timeline. I don't frequent over there, but I imagine it's bad. Probably a little less flavorful language. But I
Facebook guy.
You can't lose this game. You can't. It is going to be. They sent out the investment guides a week ago. You lose this game, you're going to have to send out like a different type of guide. I don't know what guide you're going to have to send out, but you're going to have to send out another type of guide.
Or you're going to have to retroactively turn the investments from the past year into like crypto or something. I think you guys know what we need to do. Complimentary football. This isn't new information. Virginia Tech needs to establish their identity today.
Oh, come out of the locker room in the third quarter. That'd be good too.
Come out of the locker room in the third quarter, manage the game effectively, don't turn the ball over, run the football, make smart decisions, no stupid penalties, no stupid special teams mistakes, but complimentary football. I really do think like a key to this game though is which defensive front can get more pressure on the opposing quarterback. If I'm a UVA defensive lineman or linebacker or even a corner, I'm seeing what Duke did last week, knowing that we might have a young quarterback suiting up again, who is thankfully has game experience now. But there are some plays where Pop held on to the ball too long. That's an opportunity for a UVA defensive player. Meanwhile, it is feast week for APR. It is feast week for our entire defensive line. It is feast week for our linebackers. Get after Calandria. He's a guy you just want to sack too, objectively. So, and he's also a guy you want to intercept. Delane and Dante and Dorian. Look at that. We got our D's again. D block. Come to town. Show up this week. Can't get burned over the top. Let's match our interception total from last week, but let's actually get 4. Set some records on defense. I also think that this could be one of those games. Like, I think it's been a really long time since there's been like fourth quarter Enter Sandman in Lane Stadium. And I kind of just feel like this might be one of those opportunities where it's going to be a 1 possession game late. Virginia's going to have the ball in their own territory, and we put on some Sandman and take it to them. But unfortunately, we can get into our lines and the prediction. I do think it's going to be very close.
Keep in mind for this game, it is your opportunity to secure your game day pin, which we have not had for the UVA game yet. They look great. They're fantastic. Nice collectible. And the great thing about it is you can wear it every single week. You can wear it every single week. You can wear it to work. You can wear it the rest of the year. If we win, get it done. Basketball, UVA, beat UVA, never goes out of style. Something that always looks great. And you get $1 off your slice at Benny's. So check them out.
Before we became friends with Paul Patera, one of the things that I always knew about him was that he just had beat UVA in perpetuity in his Twitter bio. So yes. Paul Patera is going to be one of those guys who probably will wear it every day. He might even have it tattooed. I don't know. Al Jones definitely has like 3 or 4 beat UVA tattoos.
Yes. You want to give it the lines? What are the lines? What are the lines? What are the lines?
I saw right now the Hokies are at -7. Again, the FPI loves us. Vegas likes us in this position. So the over-under is at 48.5. This will be, as we thought going into the season, out of the 12 regular season games, this is the 10th game that Virginia Tech is going in as favorites. So that's what we're seeing.
Score predictions. I want to preface my score prediction by saying, again, if you look at these two teams on paper, talent level, the expectation, everything else, Virginia Tech should win this game by multiple scores. We're better than them. We have the historical edge. We have the mojo edge. All of that factored in. We have the edge in all of those. However, I just don't have the evidence this year to go ahead and come out here and predict that. So I'm going to predict us to win, but I'm not going to predict us to cover. I'm going to go 24-21. I think it's going to be disgusting. I think it's going to be one of those situations where you wake up and if you're at the game, it's just a 4-hour stomach ache, or you're on the couch and you're like running your hand through your hair, you're wringing your fingers, cracking your knuckles. I think it's going to be one of those situations. I do think that Tech's going to win. I do think that UVA will cover. And I would bet the under too. I would probably bet the under on this. 48.5 seems like a lot of points.
The FPI right now is at 78.5 for Virginia Tech. Was it in the 80s before? Did you say it was?
Yeah, it was 83%. What changed?
I don't know. Is it going to snow? It's going to happen. I don't know when the last snow. We need Damian and Doug on the last snow game in Lane Stadium. I have Virginia Tech winning this game ugly, 20-14. Bashal Tutin takes a bow and makes a difference in the ball game with a second half touchdown that ultimately turns to be the difference in the football contest.
I do want to take a second because we've done this every year and just extend a thank you to the senior class. A lot of these guys, the Peter Moores of the world, the Josh Fugas of the world, like these guys have been here through a rebuild, in the middle of a rebuild, 2 coaches. We've had guys come in and buy in from different programs. And I always just think it's important on senior day to recognize those guys who have poured it out. And in good times and bad times and frustrating times and sad times, they always are the ones going to practice on Sunday, putting the pads on Tuesday, doing middle drill, doing one-on-ones, and representing the school. So I do want to take my hat off and commend all of those seniors, and I hope that we can send them off the right way, as we have almost every single time against UVA. I guess, Pat, with losing in 2019, when was the last time the Hokies lost on senior day in Blacksburg? Long time. Senior day against UVA in Blacksburg.
You'd have to the last time Virginia won in Blacksburg was 1998. So you'd have to go back to the 1998 season. I would assume that was senior day, but 1998. Also, forgot to mention when we were going through history, 2020, if you guys remember, was the last game of, I believe, the last game of the year, either that or that Clemson game. I remember we played like a game in like almost mid-December in the COVID season. But the Virginia game was supposed to be the first game of the season, which would have been so wacky. and I actually did have tickets to that game. And then contact tracing, and boom, whole team is out on like both sides, and had to move that game from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. I think if it was any other team, they would have said, we can just cancel this one. But Virginia game always gets rescheduled. And yeah, that would have been interesting to play UVA in September. Would not have felt right, though. I do love how this game is always on Thanksgiving weekend, post-turkey, family gets together, make the trip down, and hopefully retain and polish your Commonwealth Cups. Hope you all who have one of these have been sipping out of it this week. It's been fun. My mom had this in New Jersey for a very long time. She brought it to the Duke game last week. I was pouring my drinks in it and drinking out of it because that's what matters right now.
Beat UVA, get it done. Please win. That's it. Please win. We're a better team. I don't think I would survive the dialogue following a loss here, and I don't think we're gonna lose. So
we should be recording this post UVA podcast on Sunday after Virginia, and then I think we'll do like a season post vibes pod, probably right after the ACC championship. You think you want to do something that Sunday?
Yeah,
kind of do a little recap, maybe right after CFP is announced, or maybe we do it on Monday, right after that. But
let us know if you, Ed, do you want to give a quick prediction for the game? We're literally wrapping up.
Oh, you're still recording?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What's the spread? 7?
7. Over unders 48.5.
28-17 Hokies.
28-17 Hokies.
Wow. Covering. Let's go.
I will also caveat, I literally have no idea who the quarterback's going to be.
We will see. Looking forward to it. If you are making the trip down, gobble safely and dress warmly. And we're looking forward to talking to you soon. Let us know, too. I'm thinking about, my brother texted me the other day. He said, are we doing the Army-Navy preview? If that's something that you're interested in, do let me know. He bought a flintlock rifle the other day because he said it is how the United States won the war of 1812. Kids a quote machine. But anyway.
Do you want to go through a Thanksgiving sides or a Thanksgiving quick little preview? What do we got going on? I mean,
so I don't know. So my brother couldn't get off of flight school. So I'm actually spending Thanksgiving with at Hotel Plesha in Northern Virginia. I don't know what's going to be on the menu at all. And it's my first time not having it at the Mitchell household. So in my past, I'm a big green bean casserole guy. I'm a big make your own cranberry sauce guy. My dad does that. And he's also big. Look, you have to have turkey on Thanksgiving, but he always did a great job of providing other protein-based options. We would have steak. We would have chicken. We would have ribs. You had a couple of different options. It was actually ridiculous how much food we would cook for Thanksgiving. But look, Thanksgiving, it's up there with Christmas to me. Unbelievable holiday. About as good as it gets. That's kind of my vibe. Love pie. Pie rocks. If you don't like pie, I think something's wrong with you. Scoop of vanilla ice cream on top of it, right when it comes out of the oven. Oh my God. Cobbler. Who doesn't like cobbler? Oh man. Pat, we might have to end this one and start a new one. I could talk about this all day.
I was about to say, I didn't realize I was creating a huge monologue with a simple question. You were ready to go. It's like you were asking. It's like you were ready for that one. Yeah, scalloped potatoes, mac and cheese, which some debate about their presence of mac and cheese at the Thanksgiving table. I think sometimes you do one or the other, scalloped potatoes, mac and cheese. My mom said, hey, we're doing mac and cheese, no scallops this week. But excited for the stuffing, the turkey, the pies, and the vibes around the Thanksgiving table celebrating here in New Jersey with the fam. And parents are closing on a place in Blacksburg next month. Excited about that. We'll create more of an easy time going to games in the future as well. I think thousands of dollars of Airbnb and hotels this season have not made it easy on us, but I'm excited for and thankful for that opportunity to to always have housing from here on out. So little nugget there. Should be fun.
Go Hoax.
For a
Beat
basketball game.
UVA. Leave the God, last thing, it's like Suns After Dark. This whole article about like teaching people how to engage in Thanksgiving conversation was just crazy. Regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, it's not Thanksgiving if you're not arguing. There has to be at least 20% of Thanksgiving dinner where you are close to throwing the macaroni and cheese at Aunt Mary or your cousin from the other side of the family. You got to lean into that. That's what makes this great. Because you know why? You can argue, you can moan, you can complain, but at the end of the day, you're sitting at the same table and you're thankful that you're all at that table. How about that for a monologue, Pat? How about that?
I was gonna say, I feel like that's how you end it every year. You're like, dude, the banter. Like, I feel like your Thanksgiving is always kind of wild because you always end it with that. Talking about how someone says some things that are off the wall, off the tracks. So I hope Hotel Plessia brings you all of that.
Yes.
This holiday season. Thankful
for all of you. Enjoy. Let's beat UVA. Hopefully we are jovial the next time that we speak with all of you. Peace out.
Comment. Oh, if you're a Hokie and you're still here after an hour, comment
your favorite side. Your favorite Thanksgiving side.
Turkey emoji if YouTube lets you do that. I think favorite side is good.
Yeah, favorite side. All right. Take care, y'all.